And Discovery and ISS, this is Houston. Are you ready for the news conference?
Houston, we are ready.
Nebraska Public Radio, this is Houston. Please call Discovery and ISS for a voice check.
Discovery, ISS, this is Nebraska Public Radio. How do you hear me?
Nebraska Public Radio, we read you loud and clear from the Node 2 of the International Space Station. Go ahead, NPR.
Good morning, Clay and Rick and Stephanie. It's good to see you up there. Your mission commander, Alan Poindexter, learned a few hours ago that you'll be spending an extra day in orbit. Wondering how you feel about that.
Time on orbit is very precious, and so spending an extra day will be great. We'll actually be doing our late inspection while we're docked to the space station so that we can use their communications assets to downlink the imagery from the late inspection.
Clay, while you were leaving the airlock for your spacewalk this time, were there any misgivings? How'd you do with it this time?
There are never any misgivings, and it's a great experience, so we're very excited to go outside. It'd been about 3 years for me, and it took a little while to get used to it. I'm hoping that EVAs 2 and 3 will be even better.
Clay, the main job on your spacewalk has been to remove a large storage tank that's part of the space station's cooling system and replace it with a new one. It sounded as if you actually had to resort to using what sounded like a crowbar to dislodge it at one point. How did that go?
You're exactly right. The ammonia tank assembly, we had to get the new one out of the shuttle's payload bay yesterday so that it could be temp stowed on the station, and our EVA tomorrow will be working on the old one to get it off of the station. And when we tried to get the new one out of the payload bay, we had 4 bolts. The bolts all came out just fine, but then there are little, they call them detents, that are soft docks that keep it in place so that we can just lift it out with a little bit of force. Unfortunately, they didn't want to let us lift it out, so we had to take a crowbar, we call it a pry bar, and we had to give a little brute force strength to get it up. But fortunately, it all came out just fine.
Rick Mastracchio, if I could start with you on this one. We had a question submitted by the 3rd grade class here at Holmes Elementary School in Lincoln, Nebraska. They suggested a question. They want to know if it was a little scary going into space the very first time.
Well, at NASA, we train quite a bit in simulators and mock-ups that look exactly like the real space shuttle and like the real space station. So when you get in the real vehicle on launch day, you feel very much at home, and you don't feel nervous or scared at all, and you're ready to perform your duties. So if you train and prepare well enough, then no, you're not scared.
Stephanie Wilson, a question for you. You were working the robotic arm while Clay was maneuvering that huge tank. Tell us a little bit about how all that mechanical choreography works.
Right. We actually wait until the Rick and Clay are ready to hold up the tank, and to be sure that the arm is ready, the arm is in mode and ready for us to maneuver into what we call grapple or attach to the tank. They hold it as steady as they can, and Clay did a fine job holding it up and holding it steady. And then Jim and I tried to maneuver in as quickly and accurately as we could to come over the grapple fixture or the pin, which is the interface between the tank and the robotic arm. So there's a lot of choreography, a lot of communications so that they know that the arm is ready, so that as the arm operators we know that they're ready, and it all went very well.
Clay, how awkward was it maneuvering that huge tank while weightless?
Actually, it was quite easy. It weighs about 1,800 pounds, and it didn't take a whole lot of force to yaw it around so that Stephanie could see the grapple pin that she wanted to grab it with the robotic arm. The only worry I had was that for a second there I was kind of thinking about trying to jettison it like I did on the last flight I was on, but fortunately common sense prevailed.
Clay, we probably have time for maybe one more question. You'll be leaving the space station, and in all likelihood, with the end of the shuttle mission, this will be your last visit after this being your second visit. I'm wondering if leaving will be a little bittersweet at the conclusion of this one.
Well, I'm not sure what the future holds, but anytime you come to a place as magnificent as this, it's going to be bittersweet when you leave, no matter whether you think or you might come back or whether you even know you're going to come back. I think it's always bittersweet. This is a magnificent complex built by some of the finest engineers around the world. It's a great example of human fortitude and ingenuity and intelligence, so we should all be very, very proud of what we have up here.
And one last question, Rick, while you were out on the spacewalk, with all that you have to do you finally get a chance to appreciate the view at all?
Oh yeah, we stay very busy on the spacewalks. They last about 6.5 hours, but there's always a few moments to look at the Earth and look at the sunrise or the sunset and look at the beautiful Earth below us. You have to take a few moments every once in a while to do that on a spacewalk, or you're just cheating yourself. So yeah, we do take time to do that.
Great. Thank you very much, all three of you. Good luck with the rest of the mission.
Discovery ISS, this is Houston ACR.
Thank you very much.
That concludes the Nebraska Public Radio portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from CBS News Path.
Good morning, Discovery and ISS. It's CBS News and CBS News Radio. How do you hear me?
CBS News and CBS News Radio. Discovery ISS has you loud and clear.
Morning, Stephanie Wilson, Rick Mastracchio, and Clay Anderson. This is Peter King in Florida. Bill Harwood will be joining us for the Johnson Space Center in just a couple moments. And let's start with Rick and Clay because you had a great first EVA yesterday. Tomorrow morning you head out for the second of three. I'm just wondering what's the biggest challenge you face on tomorrow's EVA?
Yeah, tomorrow's EVA, we will be installing the new ammonia tank and removing the old ammonia tank. The biggest challenge is just the integration of all the robotics and the EVA. A couple of times during tomorrow's EVA, we're going to have to lift up this 1,800-pound ammonia tank while the robotic armed folks, Stephanie and Jim Dutton, come in and grapple it. So it's going to require a lot of teamwork to get that to work out smoothly.
Stephanie, for the EVA and also for the late heat shield inspection, which is now going to be while you're attached to station, what are the special challenges there? Are there a lot of clearances that you have to look after on both the EVA and the inspection?
Yes, always with robotics operations, clearances are a concern. Luckily, during EVA, we have Clay and Rick to help us clear things. So when the tank gets close to structure, we're using their eyes for clearances. We wish we could have them outside also when we do this docked inspection. It is true that while we're docked, the clearances of the arm and the boom to structure will be very tight, and we don't always have cameras to get as good of a view as we would like to the station structure. But we'll do our best. We've got folks working on the ground actually as we speak, reviewing procedures and getting all of that ready for us. So we expect it to go very well.
Hey guys, it's Bill Harwood at the Johnson Space Center. As you know, President Obama is going to visit KSC next week to discuss the administration's new space policy, and I realize it's probably career limiting for astronauts to talk politics, but given the major nature of this change, I mean, some people think it's the end of manned spaceflight, some people think it's a bold step forward. Clay, can you share the Cliff Notes version of perhaps what you think about this big change that's coming?
You know, life is full of changes, and change is hard. We know that from many different aspects of all our lives. You know, new parents find that change is a little tough in the beginning, but eventually they figure it out. And that's what we'll do with NASA and the space program. I have no idea what real changes are coming. You know, there are the one side of one view, and then there's the other side, and we'll just have to see how it all falls out. A lot of people get paid a lot of money to figure out this stuff, and my job's to go out and perform as an astronaut and do spacewalk duties. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Well, let me ask you an operator question in that case. I mean, you're obviously a shuttle veteran and you've lived on the space station. No matter what happens, it looks like the station is going to be the only game in town for quite a while in the manned spaceflight world. How confident are you that NASA and the partners can sustain the lab complex, keep it going without the shuttle there to support it?
Well, you know, the shuttle was a big workhorse, but we have a lot of new players on the block. The automated transfer vehicle from the European Space Agency, the H-2 transfer vehicle from the Japanese, the Progress from the Russians, you know, and the Soyuz. We have a lot of very talented countries participating in this endeavor, and right now I don't have any reason to believe that we can't continue to do exactly what we've been doing all along. It just remains to be seen in the future. But I think that I have a high confidence in all these international partners being able to sustain the station and do some really excellent work.
And this is Peter back in Florida for Rick. A lot of people here are wondering what the president will say when he comes to the Cape this coming week. What do you hope to hear from him?
Well, I hope to hear that in the future NASA will be a big part of and have a large part in the human spaceflight. Obviously, NASA is meant to be a leader of the country and a leader of the world in technology and innovation, and that's what it's been for many, many years. And I hope that NASA will continue to be that way. And I have no doubt that it will be, no matter which direction we take. I think NASA is going to be a big contributor to technologies and new ideas and manned spaceflight.
This question is for any and all of you. You had a smoke alarm that got everybody scrambling early this morning. We know that turned out to be okay. But 40 years ago this coming week, a very real emergency took place on Apollo 13. I'm just wondering your thoughts on that. I think you're all old enough to remember it pretty well. And what the Apollo 13 experience has meant to the program in the 40 years since it happened.
You know, it's an excellent question, and it really is a testament to teamwork. Flight crews, the mission control centers, folks that train us and work on procedures, folks that get our vehicles ready and really know the ins and outs of the vehicles, really all have to come together in an emergency. But from every emergency, we learn something new. We update our procedures, we update our response times, and it really is an opportunity to get to be more familiar with things, but also to come together and work better together as a team.
And for Clay and Rick, one quick question, you have just one day off between your EVAs. We know how hard it is physically. I'm just wondering, is one day's rest really enough to recoup your energy and go back and do it again?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I played a lot of sports in my life, and there were a lot of days we had double headers, and a lot of days we played basketball games and back-to-back days. And I think we're very well prepared. We're in pretty good shape for old men, and I think we'll be ready to rock and roll.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. Have a safe rest of your flight. We'll look forward to seeing you back here in Florida in just a few days.
Thank you.
Discovery ISS, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the CBS News Path portion of the event. Please stand by for a voice check from KETV.
I'll have a look at our weekend forecast coming up in just a couple minutes.
Webcam, stand by on thunder animation. En route, thunder's up.
KETV Newswatch 7, First News Saturday. More complete coverage.
Stand by on BDP.
Melissa Fry and meteorologist Mark Kramer. This is your favorite choice for local news. KETV Newswatch 7.
Camera wants a tight shot of Adrian. Enroll VDP. Adrian's mic.
Hard water leaves behind cost and time and the money spent on cleaning products. You can stop the spots with a Pelican water softener for only $9.95 for the first 3 months.
You see it everywhere nowadays. It's like a secret handshake. Or the new high five. To a grower, it's a way of saying you made a good decision. Because when you treat your fields with Stratego fungicide, you get a healthier field and higher yield potential. That's why Stratego is the official fungicide of what we call the yield bump. So put her there.
Well, if they're in program, then they'll hear him when we go to it.
Higher yields.
When I was 5 months old, I underwent my first open heart surgery. And until I received my heart transplant, all I knew was sickness. Then when I was 14, the call came that a heart was available for me, and I was to have a second chance at life. Because a grieving family had the strength to say yes.
I have no idea. They're on the phone.
I was able to graduate from high school. I even competed on the swim team. I'm alive because someone said yes.
To register your decision, go to nedonation.org or call 733-1800.
The Super Doppler Storm Team is committed to providing more complete severe weather coverage.
Once again, we've partnered with Midland Radio to provide weather alert radios for you to purchase.
Along with the Super Doppler Storm Team, these radios provide important life-saving information during severe weather. When you hear a weather alert, turn to the Super Doppler Storm Team on air or online for more complete
How much time's left in this break, Bill?
And informed during severe weather. Purchase
55 seconds
today at Hy-Vee or on KETV.com.
Yeah, we'll come out on 5 up full to under, then to camera and tight shot Adrian. Yeah, I think we're okay, Bill. Thanks. Probably about 20 seconds out. 30 out. 30 out.
Discovery ISS, this is Houston ACR, about 40 more seconds. Thank you.
It's time for spring
But he's not going to do no mic.
Help in the Better Business Bureau want to make sure you're smart about it. Box up your old bank statements and other personal documents and bring them to the shredded.
You don't need to give no mic check. You just
be smart about
stand by on 5 up full to under.
With a personal touch on your weather forecast, the Super Doppler weather page on KETV.com.
Roll 5.
3, 2, 1, 0. Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery. Blazing a trail to scientific discoveries aboard Space Station.
Adrian's mic.
Discovery ISS.
Stand by 1.
TV. How do you hear me?
This is Discovery and ISS. We hear you loud and clear.
Very, very good. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning. Early Monday morning, Nebraskans and the rest of the nation watched as you guys took off.
Big delay.
Discovery lifted off from Cape Canaveral. On board, experiencing the second trip out of this world, Nebraska's very own Clayton Anderson. Also on board and joining us this morning, Rick Mastracchio, if I got that right, and Stephanie Wilson. Good morning. And just first off, we should mention to our viewers, there might be a slight delay, and I guess this question for all of you, how's the mission going so far?
The mission's going very well. We're in the middle of transferring all the cargo that we brought up. Rick and I completed the first spacewalk yesterday. The station crew is working hard as usual, and everything's going very, very well.
And can you tell us a little bit about what that spacewalk was all about, what you guys were doing out there, and what parts of the space station you were working on?
Well, Clay and I have 3 spacewalks planned. We completed one of them yesterday. And the biggest task is to replace a large ammonia tank that's on board the space station right now. We brought up a new one in the space shuttle. Yesterday, we took that new one and we transferred over to the space station. Tomorrow, we'll swap out the old and the new tank. And then on our last spacewalk, a couple days from now, we will remove the old tank and put it back in the shuttle for return to Earth.
And for everyone, you know, down here, we can't possibly imagine this, but tell us what it's like to be outside of that space station, just floating around in space.
It's an incredible feeling. It's an experience that I will never forget, and I'm sure every other spacewalker will tell you the same thing. The views of the Earth are spectacular. You have to tell yourself to stop working for a bit to take a look down at the ground. We actually did that yesterday as we flew over the United Arab Emirates and saw some of those huge resorts that they've built out in the Gulf of Aden, I believe. So it was just incredible. It's a great experience. It's a lot of hard work, but it's also very, very rewarding.
I can imagine. And, you know, Stephanie, NASA set a record with the most number of women in space with this mission. What's it like to be part of that record? And do you have any advice to young girls who are looking at maybe becoming an astronaut?
Well, it's certainly an honor to, so to speak, be part of a record for the number of women in space, and it's been a pleasure to work both with Dottie Metcalf Lindenberger and Naoko Yamazaki, and also to join Tracy Caldwell as she's a part of the expedition crew on the space station. And we're all very fortunate that many of the women in the astronaut program many have come before us and paved the way, and we're able to learn from their mentorship and from the example that they set. And for young women out there, young girls, I would recommend that they work hard, study as hard as they can, and have faith in their capabilities, and understand that the sky's the limit. They can really study anything that they are interested in or that their hearts desire.
Very, very nice. And again, thank you so much for joining us here this morning, and have a very safe trip back home. Thanks, guys.
Webcam.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate your time.
Discovery ISS, this is Houston ACR. That concludes the event. Thank you.